Hey everybody, welcome back. I am Ryan Sykes,
And I'm Ryan's brother, Paul.
and we are here to continue our ranking of all 40 seasons. Yes, all 40 seasons of our favorite reality television show. That's right, it's Survivor. Up until this point, we have gotten through, I thought we had gotten through quite a few episodes in part one, or seasons, I should say. No, we got through 9 of them. So I'm going to list off the 9 that we previously talked about, and then we're going to continue on from there when Paul gives us his. And I know it's a little confusing, the format of this, but if you followed along in part one, you should be able to keep up with what we're doing in part 2. We got up to where I described my 28th favorite season, and then Paul had yet to give us his 28th because we talked about that season. So how it works, in a nutshell, is that we'll list off our, let's say, 40th favorite season. I'll list mine, Paul will list his. If they happen to be the same, we'll discuss that season. If I have a different 40th favorite season than Paul, then we wait until his comes up, or until that season comes up in both his rankings and my rankings at some point, and at that point we will discuss the season. So the seasons that we have discussed so far, in the order that we discussed them, starting from the first season that we discussed until the most recent, is at the first one we discussed was Island of the Idols, which is our most clearly hated season, and then it was Edge of Extinction, Survivor One World, Survivor Redemption Island, Nicaragua, Thailand, Fiji, Heroes, Healers, Hustlers, and finally Ko Wrong. So
You at home don't have to watch any of those.
No, I wouldn't watch any of those again, I don't think, unless I was extremely desperate. With the exception of possibly Fiji, I want to say, because I just don't have a ton of memories from it, and maybe it's better than I remember. Yeah, that's a possibility, but the rest of them, there's not a chance that that's going to happen. Any of those for you that you would ever revisit?
I can't see myself watching any of those again. There's better seasons to watch. There's also other stuff in life that you should probably be doing other than watching the 9 worst seasons of Survivor.
Oh, there's grass you can watch grow. There's paint you can watch dry. There's pots you can watch
Flavor of Love
boil.
is still on. Yeah,
What's
right.
That?
Flavor of Love might still be on.
Oh man, Flavor of Love is due for Flavor Flav's got to be 60-something now, and he probably looks 90. You know.
Did not
Flavor
age
Flav,
well.
one of the few celebrities I've actually met in real life.
Have you really met Flavor Flav?
I conned my way into getting backstage at some concert festival, and Flavor Flav was walking around with either an entourage or a bunch of floozies. I don't know. And I didn't really meet him per se. I was like, oh my God, Flavor Flav. Wow. And I don't know why. I was probably had a few sips of vodka or something like that. This is a while back. And it was not a very eventful meeting, but I do remember seeing him in person. So I just, I don't know that many celebrities that I've met that I can think of, apart from Survivors. The only celebrities, I'm not some star effer or anything like that, but people that I think are amazing celebrities the only celebrities I actually want to meet are people from Survivor and curling and professional curlers.
Wow.
I think they're all
attainable. I could name one professional curler.
You could name one. You couldn't name one?
I can't, off the top of my head, absolutely not. If you listed the 3 best curlers, you could probably, okay, I've heard of that person.
Wow. So oh boy, you could Kevin Cooey. You don't know who that is?
No.
Who's the bald guy? I can't even remember now.
I don't know. But I think the only way to hemorrhage viewers more than talking about Survivor is talking about curling.
Okay, enough. Let's get into it. So my 28th favorite season was Ko Wrong. Your 28th favorite season is?
My 28th, and we're going to talk about it now, and I ranked it higher than you did, is Worlds Apart.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I was surprised. I was putting together a little spreadsheet today, and I was shocked that we had not discussed Survivor Worlds Apart. So here it comes, Survivor Worlds Apart. Tell me, give me a little preamble for you for Survivor Worlds Apart.
Okay. Survivor Worlds Apart, I could have ranked this as low as you did. It should probably be a little bit lower because this is an awful cast. I'll
just remind people I had this at 33.
Right. And I think that's probably a better spot for it. The reason it ranked higher for me is because I actually remember it. As bad as it was, right? I just remember hate watching Dan Foley. Hate watching Will was terrible. Even Sharon is terrible. Max Dawson is terrible. Max is terrible. At some points, Boston Rod, not Rob, is terrible. Just an overall cast full of jerks.
Jen Brown is terrible.
Jen Brown is terrible, and then there's Vince Sly. He's not terrible. He's actually, I'm sad to see him go in the second boot.
Yeah, I could have handled a few more episodes of Vince Sly, I have to say.
Absolutely. And so I guess it had this underdog story of Mike Holloway, who ends up winning. He was targeted very early on. But again, I don't think this makes for a satisfying winner, because it's like he has no social game whatsoever, no alliances whatsoever. He just manages to win 5 of the last 6 immunities and have a hidden immunity idol, right?
Yeah, he wins out. He basically wins out. Yeah. And the one time I think he's exposed, then he finds an idol. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
I just remember he went on such a colossal run and nobody was able to actually get him out. And I don't think he was ultimately exposed to a vote out at any point. So it makes for an exciting finish. And it's certainly not like I was cheering for anybody else who was left on the show at that point.
No.
But I couldn't tell you 3 things about Mike Holloway. He's got crazy tattoos. I think so. He wasn't. So, okay, fine. Mike Holloway's not invited back for Winners at War. Do you think he should have been there?
Yeah, I think I would have liked to have seen him more than maybe a couple of the winners who were brought back.
In place of who?
I'd probably in place of Ben.
Yeah, I think that probably was the spot that Ben got. I think there's a toss-up. I don't know if they're similar characters, but they have similar arcs towards the end where they go on this massive run. And yeah, I think there was a toss-up there. I think and I don't want to spread all these rumors about Mike Holloway because I don't want him to basically come and beat me up. And it's likely that he's watching this, but I'd heard he wrote some kind of incendiary things on Twitter, and he's like a bit of a lunatic. Although I also hear he's kind of a nice guy too. So I'm not here to spread rumors about the survivors. I think that's probably ultimately why that guy doesn't get cast. Do you think we'd see a Mike Holloway again?
No, I can't imagine if they'd bring him back for this perfect setting for him. I don't see him coming back.
Yeah, it'll be interesting if we go and cast a few sort of hypothetical seasons, who we cherry pick and if a Mike Holloway ever fits into anything like that. But he probably wouldn't for me. Surprising how many people, despite this season being full of just a-holes, actually make a return visit to Survivor, the program. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say Haley Ford.
See, I like Haley Ford because she's a real weirdo. Oh, I don't know. I kind of like her. I think that, she's probably got some hidden depth that we're not aware of. Yeah, she's a lawyer. She's this kind of surfer girl, but she's a lawyer. She does all this rapping on YouTube. She's an interesting personality, but just completely disappeared from the show.
Disappeared from both of her times on the show.
This is true. And I just remember reading some story about her, how her and Sierra. So Sierra Dawn Thomas is somebody else who's on this friggin' cast and gets invited back for some reason. No idea. No, I still can't understand why she gets invited back on the show because there's nothing personality-wise or in terms of physicality or gameplay that. So we can discuss that when we get to Game Changers, where Sierra Dawn Thomas ultimately comes back. But I think Haley was like, yes, Sierra was telling the story how she texted Haley to say, hey, do you want to work together? And Haley literally wrote back, like, I don't know who this is. She's so far removed from the game. So sure, I'm not going to.
Sounds like she's far removed from reality.
I think she probably is to an extent, but I do think she's very intelligent. So Joe comes back a million times. This introduces us to Joey Amazing. Who I can't stand. I had a conversation about Joey Amazing last night. And I was talking to my buddy as we're running about Joe being on, what was the show that we hated? Edge of Extinction. And how Chris Underwood gets back into the game. And my buddy was like, yeah, but he didn't have to beat anybody. I was like, oh, he had to beat Joe. He's like, who? Exactly. There's nothing memorable about this guy. Oh, the guy with the hair. That's it. He's just hair. Sure, he wins some challenges, but I don't know. There's nothing. He doesn't have the slightest bit of edge, which to me is completely uninteresting. There's nothing sort of ironic or funny about the guy. He's just like a guy.
He's a guy who really appeals to, like, I don't think he appeals to all women, but I think he appeals to, like, the under 16 demographic where, like, the boy band type girls have a real crush on this guy. And,
I know people. Sure, go ahead. Sorry.
No. But he's probably has such a huge, fan base in that demographic.
I don't know if it's just. I think that is I think that demographic is definitely a sweet spot for Joe Engel. But almost every woman I talk to about the show casually really likes Joe. Like I mean, I guess he's a nice guy and he smiles a lot. It's probably all it takes in some respects.
Ugh,
I'm looking for a little more edge from my
boring.
Survivor. He is really boring, though.
Yeah.
So this introduces us to Joe, and we just can't seem to get rid of him. It introduces, like you said, to Shireen, who plays again, who is just way too much.
Way too
Although,
much.
I mean, she was victimized on the show, but, you know, I just have a hard time with her. She's quite shrill.
She is very shrill.
Yeah, and then some of the most hateable players, as you
Dan Foley. You want to talk a little bit about Dan Foley?
What can I say about Dan Foley? I mean, to say that he's not the most hated person on this season is pretty shocking.
Right. Absolutely.
Oh, you even forget about who is that idiot who was on the show? Rodney.
Well, yeah.
Rodney.
Boston Rod.
Not likable. Oh, you mentioned it earlier, and then Joaquin or whoever. Like nobody on the show.
Yeah.
Was I mean, I guess you bring back Joe because he's the nicest person on that cast. But yeah, Dan Foley's hateable, but not as hateable as Will Sims Jr., who is just like a misogynist, racist jerk off. I heard this story about that Rob Sesternino told once about how he met Will Sims in a bar, and Will Sims threatened to kick the shit out of him.
Really?
Because he didn't like what he had said about him on some podcast or something like that. He threatened to beat the shit out of him.
Wow.
Right? And Rob's just like, what on earth did I ever do?
Because Rob pulls his punches a lot.
Oh, come on. Really does. And especially now that he knows how many people listen to him. Like earlier on, he, probably was a little more
edgy.
Yeah, a little more edgy and a little more free and loose with the commentary. But now he won't say a bad thing about Russell or pretty much anybody. Even Will Sims Jr. he won't say anything bad about. So it's surprising to hear about that. Yeah, boy.
Dan Foley, though, too, just had an utter lack of self-awareness, too. And I love the part where he goes up and he when he gets voted out and he talks to the camera and tells them how heroes can play a really good game, and he sees himself as a hero. It's just, oh my God, it was the most insufferable speech I've heard.
I am a fat guy, or whatever it is that he says. Who else is Mama C? Like, I'm so not interested in Mama C.
One thing that I will say about Rodney, this is really fun to watch Rodney in the challenges. The guy who has just worked on glamour muscles and has no athletic ability whatsoever. It's actually shocking how terrible this guy is at challenges.
Was the Jersey Shore popular at this time? Were they trying to cash in on Jersey Shore popularity? Because why didn't they just get one of the Jersey Shore guys?
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever their names are. Like
why does Pauly D play?
There you go. Sure, whatever. I have no idea. I've never
or the situation or
that's why can't I think I'm drawing blanks tonight. I can't.
He fits right in with that cast.
It was hard to watch. But you're right. It was memorable, and I remember most everything that happened on the show. At least a lot of things that happened on the show. So
right, and that's why it's going to slot in higher than a lot of the ones we will talk about sooner.
That's fair. I couldn't put it up in the 20s. It had to be in the 30s for me because of how hard it was to watch. All right, so that gives us Worlds Apart. Anything else you want to say?
No, that's it for me.
Good. Now, let's never speak of it again. So I'm going to get into now my 27th favorite Survivor season of all time, and that is going to be Survivor David versus Goliath.
Okay.
Survivor David versus Goliath.
All right.
Okay, so hang on. I'm going to do this. And then I'm going to do this. And then, okay. So, you got to give me yours then.
My number 27th season is Survivor number 10, Palau.
Oh, what?
Yeah, Palau didn't rank high for me.
That is surprising.
We can get into it.
Okay, we will, but we're not going to get into it right now. So we're going to get into my 26th favorite season of all time. And I'm just doing a little spreadsheet work here. And my 26th favorite season of all time is Survivor Caramoan, Survivor Fans versus Favorites, Part 2, Survivor Caramoan. Okay, and how about for you?
My number 26, and we'll talk about this now, is number 11, season 11, Guatemala.
Okay. Wow, Guatemala, so much higher than I had it. Great. So let's talk a little bit of Guatemala. I'm going to roll back, and to remind people watching at home, all the people watching at home, this is I ranked Survivor Guatemala at 34. So why don't you start us off with Guatemala, and then I'll give you my little take on this.
Okay. So Guatemala for me ranks a lot higher simply because I remember nothing either positive or negative about it. It really, I think it's the introduction of the first immunity idol.
I do think it has the first immunity idol. I think Gary Hogaboom / Gary Hawkins was the first person to find an idol, and he did use it successfully to save his ass for one episode, if I remember correctly, which I think I may.
Yeah, I think that happened. So it's memorable for that reason. Another reason why it should have been more memorable is because I thought the location was going to be amazing, doing it in these Mayan ruins, right?
Yeah.
But it did not it did not film very well. It seemed very claustrophobic. I don't think they couldn't have a lot of water challenges because of the presence of, I don't know, crocodiles.
I think there were crocodiles or something like that.
Yeah, and so they had to be in, I remember being in cages for some of the water challenges.
Yeah. I don't think they were on the ocean. I think it was some sea or lake or something like that. I've been up to around where they filmed it. They filmed it near all these ruins, and God, whether they're Mayan or Incan, they're Mayan. I think they're Mayan. I want to say.
I thought they were. I'm not sure though.
Yeah, they're close to the peninsula there, and the ruins of Tikal, where they filmed Star Wars, the Masasi temples. So they had all these cool temples there, but there's not that much in terms of water close by, and where there is, I think you would have, it's kind of swampy or whatnot. So, so not a lot of water challenges, which is a bummer.
Yeah, and so I have 3 things I remember about this. I remember Judd calling everyone scumbags.
Scumbags, yeah.
I remember Stephanie being awful.
We'll talk about Stephanie eventually. Yeah, she takes a real heel turn here.
She sure does. And I remember Danny Boatwright being somewhat of an acceptable winner, and we all thought, oh, I hope Danny gets a chance to play again, and then we're kind of regretful of what we wished for.
I think we waited a little too long, and she melted a little bit like that guy in Raiders. Her face and all her features just sort of melted away because I think she had some cosmetic touch-ups.
Yes. Do you know what exposes cosmetic surgery? About 25 days on the island will expose
it does,
any
for
cosmetic
sure.
surgery.
Yeah, and it's funny, if you take a look at the winners at war, they have that one little screen grab where all the winners are waving high. And so if you take a look at hers, she actually looks incredible because she's covered in makeup. And she's all done up, and she looks really good on the jury too. But if you strip that all away and you're out on the edge of extinction, she was not island hot.
No, it's because when you lose your natural fat and all these kind of cosmetic fat deposits really start to protrude, like your big lips start to come out, and it really shows any breast augmentation you may have had.
Tina Wesson.
Right, yeah.
Amongst other, really, what you would think watching the show, that's a bad boob job. It's probably not. It's probably a great boob job. But when you are totally emaciated, like you say, and there's no other fat, then everything starts to poke through because you've just got a thin layer of epidermis going on.
Right, absolutely. So anyone who's planning on going on Survivor, hold off on the cosmetic surgery for a while.
Well, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, Angie Layton, but whatever. Let's let's keep going. I don't know if I've ever watched Guatemala, so I'm in the same camp as you, as having not a lot of memories about it, but because of that, I just couldn't put it any higher. Like, something like Worlds Apart, which I guess I ranked slightly lower than this, or higher than this. It's memorable to me, at least, because there are things that I remember, but I don't remember, and it's a bit of a blur. So I don't even know if I've watched the entire season. Right. And I could probably name maybe 4 cast members, amongst them being Judd. Okay, so this is the first season. It's interesting. They bring back just 2 returning players. They had never done that before. It had been, hey, here we're going to have a full returning player season. We're going to have fans versus oh no, they hadn't even done fans versus favorites. This is the second time they'd ever brought back returning players, where they brought back Stephanie and Bobby John. And so it's interesting. There were a few people they had considered to bring back for Guatemala, chief amongst which being the 2 from Palau who never even got a chance to play the game, Jonathan Libby and Wanda Shirk.
That's not selling any tickets.
No, it's not going to sell any tickets, but I mean, we'll talk about that in Palau.
We'll talk about that.
One of the most horrible things you could possibly do. But no, you're not going to sell any. You're not reaching your target demographic with those 2 necessarily. And so I think there were some other people they considered as well. I heard Hunter Ellis was in the mix. amongst other people. Sure,
I heard that too.
Amongst other people, and they ultimately, because of the way the season played out on Palau, which was the season immediately preceding this, they go with Stephanie and Bobby John, which look at the time I thought would be cool. I bought into the Stephanie story the first time around, so I was excited to see her back and took a real heel turn. Bobby John's the same character. Either way, I didn't mind him. He had something that I haven't seen on the show in a while, which is somebody like this just crazy country boy.
Seems all right. Seems like a good enough guy.
Not really articulate. Didn't have a lot of interesting things to say, but he was kind of fun on the show. So I was glad they brought him back. Other than that, I have a hard time remembering the names of the cast members. I probably should watch this. From what I've read on Survivor Reddit, people actually like it. But yeah, here's how and we've talked about this quite a few times. Up until Danny Boatwright on season 40, they had never brought back a person from this show.
Right.
One cast member.
Except, I guess, Stephanie, if you consider it being...
I don't count that. No, I don't really count that because she's her original season's Palau.
Yeah. And
I think that says a lot about the particular cast and certainly what production thinks about the show in general. And if, at the time, and we've said this also as well, the show should ultimately be about the characters. And if you're not, if nobody sees a spark in any of the characters to bring them back, it's probably not that entertaining of a season. So I'm surprised you got it at 26, but all right.
Well, I mean, here's the reason. What the big reason is because when I'm thinking about these, where I rank them is influenced a lot by how much I want to rewatch this, how much I want to see this season again, right? So because the fact that Guatemala kind of escapes the crosshairs a little bit, because I would watch Guatemala a lot sooner than I watch any of these ones that I know that I hate, right? I just don't know that I like or hate Guatemala.
Okay, so rewatchability factor is not something I really thought about when I did my rankings. It was basically what I could remember, the feelings that I had about the show at the time and continue to have now, if I have any sort of residual memories of it or it sparks any kind of emotional response whatsoever.
Right.
Yeah, and Guatemala is just low for that for me. Like I don't think I watched the final. I guarantee you I've never seen the final for that. I mean, I know the way it turns out. Fine, sure, but I know I tuned out sort of halfway through the show, and that led me into like a bit of your Fijis, your Cook Islands, those seasons around there. I just kind of was I'm really hazy on. So anyway, that's Guatemala. I don't think I have anything else I need to mention about that. Yourself?
No, I'm good with Guatemala.
Cool. Well, let's move on then. And we're getting through these things. I think I'm down to 25. Is that correct?
Yep, 25.
So I'm taking a look at 25. I think this might surprise you.
Okay.
I hope. My number 25 season is the original season 1 of Survivor. Survivor, is it Borneo? Is it
Borneo?
Whatever it's called, it's Survivor Borneo.
It surprises me that you have it that low. I'm a little bit shocked it's that low for you.
Okay. Sure.
But because if you're ranking it just off of like your visceral response to it at the time and how much you I guess you're not factoring in cultural impact.
No, I'm not, none whatsoever. I'll get into my explanation of it when we talk about it, which doesn't sound like it's going to be for a while. So give me your season 25 then.
Is number 3, Africa.
Oh boy, okay.
Yeah.
I'm punching it in here on my little spreadsheet, and then we will move on. And we'll discuss both of these shows at a later date. Okay, now I'm getting into season 24 for myself. And I think we're talking about this one now. Season 24 for me is a recent season, a little season called Survivor Ghost Island.
Oh, I was hoping we'd get to Ghost Island soon. I'm surprised that it made it that high for you. But I'd like to find out why.
Surprised also, honestly.
Yeah. You just forget about it and have to stick it in somewhere.
Yeah, I think it was a little more interesting to me relative to the other seasons for some casting choices. And I know that my pool at the time, my Survivor pool, was going quite strong, and I was quite interested and engaged. And I think the podcast, not only what I was doing for the pool, but the podcasts surrounding this season, I really, really enjoyed. Josh Wigler was doing a podcast at the time called First One Out, where he would interview all the survivors. He'd do these 3-hour-long marathon podcasts leading up to the program so that I could do all this research, and he would interview everybody, and then he would sort of guess who was going to be the first one out, and they would interview the first one out. And he doesn't do it anymore. He doesn't cover Survivor anymore because he pissed off Jeff Probst on purpose during the whole the Dan Spilo sexual harassment.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah, so I guess the premise of this show was what? There was an island where, the contestants, I guess if you lost an immunity challenge or something along those lines, one of the losing players would get sent to Ghost Island, and it was kind of a spooky place, and you'd spend it by yourself and the camera people who were obviously there. And there would be relics from past seasons of Survivor, like the stick. Why they held on to the stick that that Jason Siska tried to play in Micronesia, various spent idols that weren't used properly that people went home with. I think Andrea had an idol there.
Right.
Various other, probably the immunity necklace that Eric Reichenbach gave up in Micronesia as well. All these like interesting things. I think some of James's immunity idols that he was voted out with in China were there. And so these things you'd go to, I guess, the Ghost Island, and then you'd relive some of the past history of the show, and they'd show clips of survivors that we liked a lot better than the current survivors. Just dredged up. He just played on our nostalgic memories, just emotionally manipulated the viewers into being like, oh yeah, I do like what I'm watching right now, because it's like the old thing that I was watching, and it's somehow tied in some way. Yeah, I feel good about this.
Your tolerance for this season is going to depend on your tolerance for hokiness.
Yeah, so, in all the 30s, a lot of the 30s, these are the seasons where Jeff is really getting into these premises, these like really weird specific themes that he's got going on. And the Ghost Island thing, while it's not as bad to me as Heroes, Healers, Hustlers, which is something that's completely forced and nonsensical. Like, I kind of liked some of the nostalgia beats. It wasn't that bad. With all these twists, though, where they go to an island, like they spend so much time on the Redemption Island or Ghost Island or Exile Island or the Edge of Extinction Island or whatever it is. And it sucks away from the character development of the show, except the one individual person. So I don't know. Why don't you tell me your thoughts, and then I'll get into a little bit more on Ghost Island.
Okay. Yeah, I think this actually has a real fun cast. A lot of these people are a lot of fun. Yep. I think the Dom Wendell alliance is great, and people always complain that alliance never broke down or no one made a move against them, but it wouldn't have been as satisfying of an ending as Dom and Wendell making it to the final two and going to a tiebreaker. For that, it moved up quite a bit in my rankings. I also think if I'm casting heroes, villains too, Chris Noble is on my villains team.
1,000%.
I really liked what he gave to the show in terms of just being this kind of just kind of like a doofy but not malicious kind of jock. He's just more kind of, I don't know, insensitive and kind of
Is he self-aware?
No, he's completely unself-aware.
I don't know, because the reason I say he might not be is because after the season ended, for about 10 days, there was this video out of him just making fun of himself. The Survivor producers, I guess while he was on Ponderosa, filmed him like cruising around on a jet ski doing this rap song. And it was so funny. And then I think he got pissed off and complained. Because maybe he didn't know exactly what they were doing with it, because it made him look even stupider.
Right.
And then they removed it. And I still think it's out there somewhere. And I almost even think that Wendell was quoting it on this season's Ponderosa. I think he was. And it's so funny and so out there that I was like, oh, maybe he does. Maybe he is in on the joke, but I don't think he is. I think ultimately he doesn't get how ridiculous other people see him as. I think he thinks he's really cool.
Absolutely, and that's why he's going to be great on a comeback season.
I really hope that they do bring him back for something.
I do so.
I think there's a spot for him somewhere, and I'm gonna couch that for when we discuss potential returnee seasons. I think there's a returnee season that sees a Chris Noble come back.
Absolutely.
So I write down. Go ahead.
No, sorry, I was going to say, and when Dom votes him out and yells Chris Noble in the voting booth is a great little moment.
Yeah, there's very few moments like that where you can hear the vote from the voting booth. I'll get into one of them later on. But yeah, I like that moment a lot. I like Wendell and Dom a lot on this show. I like that they're so simpatico like that. And you don't really see an alliance like that. And you never have seen a tie before. I thought that was exciting. I thought, I kind of could predict what would happen in the instance that there was a tie, and that's what came up. And I like to see where it went. What else happened?
I'll tell you about a little bit why Ghost Island dropped about 3 spots.
Sure,
me.
Okay.
And his name is Michael fucking Yerger. I hate this guy. If there is one person is the least relatable person on the planet, it's Michael Yerger.
I'm flabbergasted. I don't know how anyone can have just feelings on Michael Yerger one way or the other. Go on then.
You know,
I mean, Michael Yerger's what, 18?
I'm 18 and I'm also a real estate agent. How are you fucking 18 and a real estate agent? How does that happen, right? This guy's literally from the age of 15 had just women throwing their panties at him, just stuffing dollar bills into his pants, right? I can't relate to this guy's
Corinne
story.
Kaplan.
Absolutely, including Corinne. And if you see it in any kind of pre-game interview he has, they're just salivating over this guy. I remember like Mandy being really interested in watching this season, right? And up until Michael Yerger got voted off, and then for some reason she just lost interest in the season. Now I have to spend the rest of my life if she's thinking about Michael Yerger during intimate moments, right? It's brutal. I hate this fucking guy. Fuck Michael Yerger.
He's so young and you're so old.
It's a real estate agent at 18. I was playing Mario Kart in McLean's basement. That's relatable, right? Not a Dayton site. Fuck this guy.
Is he really a real estate agent, or is he taken?
I don't know.
Is he a high school dropout who's taken the 2-hour real estate, course to get his real estate broker?
That guy is selling houses to MILFs. I can tell you that much right now.
Yeah, he's probably doing okay for himself. Like for an 18-year-old, he's pretty well spoken.
He's well spoken.
People he was 24, right?
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like this is so unrelatable. How can you be so self-possessed at the age of 18? I don't know my ass from my elbow at 18, right? Like it pisses me off so much. This kid.
Is this the season that Donathan's on? I can't remember.
Yeah.
It is, huh? Okay. And Donathan's not an old person either. Do we like Donathan? I don't know. I think he drove me a bit.
No, I'm kind of lukewarm.
Got annoyed at him. Yeah. That's the kind of guy that I think the show wants to bring back, and I just don't want to see it.
Yeah.
I think we got all we needed to see out of Donathan. Who else did they have? I like Bradley Claggy as like a villain. He's like a little weasel-faced, tiny-mouth villain, but I kind of like that guy a lot. I do think it was a good cast. I love the podcast. The twists were kind of silly, I think.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's a pretty hokey premise, but as far as Survivor goes, like it's not really
fun
hokier
first
than
boot
anything
too.
else. Oh, Jacob Darwin.
They gave 2 hours to this guy.
There was no other boot.
Well, maybe there was 2 boots. I don't know, but I remember him getting an enormous amount of screen time.
He got a ton of screen time. Yeah. I mean, look, he makes the all first boot list for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't think I'm ever going to cast a first boot season. I don't think
there's enough fun there.
It's not. No, I mean.
Do we need to see Francesca for a third time?
No, we're definitely not going to do that. And so far from the show, only Wendell's returned. Is that surprising? I don't know. It's not that long.
It's only 3 years ago.
It's only 3 years ago.
You can see Kellen possibly returning, although I'm not really chomping at the bit to see Kellen return. I'd love to see Dom play. I'd love to see Chris Noble play. I would hate to see fucking Michael Yerger play. So,
I mean, if they get a Survivor himbo type season, that'd be okay. We'll call it the imbos, and we'll have some himbos, and we'll have some bimbos, and it's not going to be full of great gameplay.
Everything that this kid said, people thought was so profound. It's going to be like John Hamm from 30 Rock, where he doesn't know he's an idiot because everyone just treats him because he's so handsome.
Yeah, I know some people like that. What's the oil budget going to be like for this season? The himbo season, where everybody's just
my God.
Every competition is like, all right, you're sliding down the oil slip and slide.
Here's hoping they buy in bulk and get a discount.
Okay. I think towards the end I did start to get a little bit bored of this. And the whole thing with the fire, this was really interesting. It wasn't the first fire making challenge, but it was the first time that maybe Dom shouldn't have sent Wendell to fire, and he should have gone to fire himself. And I think if he does, he probably wins that season. But I'm not here to relive the different mistakes that people made on the season. We can discuss that in some other forum. Okay. How are we feeling? You good for the Ghost Island?
I think I've said enough about Michael Yerger.
Oh, take that, Michael Yerger. Take that.
I hope you're listening, Michael Yerger.
Really going to affect his life, I think, going forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's rough. Okay, well, you didn't give me your 24, number 24. So that's Ghost Island 24 for me. And for Paul, we have at season 24?
24, we have Survivor number 23, South Pacific.
Oh, SOPA. Okay,
yeah.
South Pacific. And I know that I haven't talked about that yet. I haven't brought it up yet. So we're not talking about South Pacific right now. We're going to jump into my 23rd favorite season of Survivor. And I do believe we're talking about this one. And this is Survivor Gabon. Survivor Gabon. Come on.
Okay,
Right now,
yeah,
because
you
I
put it a
believe you
lot
had
higher than I
Gabon at
did.
32, and I've got it at
32,
23. Yeah, okay. So you tell me. So Paul had it at 32. I've got it at 23. You talk about Gabon. Open us up with Gabon here.
Okay.
Season 17, I believe, of the show.
I've said this before, but this is a mean-spirited season, and a lot of it's really funny, though. It's mean-spirited, but, I mean, it's incredibly mean-spirited.
Yeah, it's mean-spirited in a way that's really, really entertaining, unlike Your Worlds Apart, which is mean-spirited in such a toxic way.
Right. But even that, like, even the fun that Corinne and Randy bring with their caustic burns doesn't make up for the fact that Bob Crowley and who's the runner-up who almost wins the season?
Susie Smith.
Susie Smith. Imagine how low the season would be ranked if Susie Smith is your winner, right?
She was close. It was 4-3.
4-3, right?
Yeah.
And Sugar, I just not. Her gameplay wasn't good. It was just flaky. Like, she didn't have a strategy. She would just flip and flop. Whoever talked to Sugar last, that's who she would vote against. The person that person told them to, and that's not fun for me.
No, I haven't seen. She had no gameplay whatsoever. Bob really didn't have much of a game, although he won a lot of immunity challenges for a guy who's still the oldest winner, I believe, in the history of the show. Right. He made all these fake things. Like, he was a clever dude, and ultimately, out of those three at the end, sure, I'm cheering for Bob. There's probably 5 or 6 other people I would have rather seen won the show. Sugar's not amongst those people. I guarantee you Sugar was recruited for the show. There's no way that she applied for it. She doesn't understand anything about the show whatsoever. And there's a lot of stories about sort of Sugar's behind the scene antics. And these are told by Corinne, who probably not a reliable narrator.
I'll take Corinne's word over Sugar's.
Oh, 1,000%. Sure. 1,000%. So I didn't much care for Sugar, or I didn't care much for the final episode of the show. But as you say, there's just so much funny, mean-spirited stuff that goes on. Randy Bailey and Corinne Kaplan, in the top 5 Survivor villains of all time. I don't know if we rank the villains at some point, or casting a heroes versus villains too. Corinne doesn't get on the first one. No, she gets on the second. She should get on the second one. Yeah, she would get on the second one if she wanted to play again, which she said repeatedly that she doesn't want to do. I don't know. I think she could use the money. I'm not really sure. But Randy, I love so much. I think Randy's so great. He gets burned on his second season, and every podcast he's done since, every time Randy opens his mouth, everything Randy does on Twitter is just so funny.
Yeah, Randy's great.
Yeah, I love Randy. And I think I like this more than the general consensus. I was kind of getting back into the show at the time, although I was still kind of wobbly. I remember a lot of the boots on this thing. I don't know. I don't mind Bob that bad relative to the other 2 people. I've met Bob in real life and Bob's probably the survivor I've had the longest conversation with. Okay. And he's just gives you a soft spot for him. Yeah. He's so nice. He's so funny. You can understand why people gravitated towards him, at least enough to give him the vote, and how he even got on the show. He's just like a genuinely nice man. So seems like a nice man. It's not too bad. It's okay that he won. But let me ask you this question: who was the best player on this season? I don't know. Kenny? I don't know. Probably Kenny, right? Maybe Kenny. Sure. Is Kenny? I would have liked to see Kenny in some. I don't think it's ever going to happen. And I don't know how charismatic he was on screen. But at some point, I was really excited to see Kenny play again. Yeah. I just like when he brought down the Alliance. He's like, I'm slaying giants out here. And he kind of. No, he was fun, and he's probably one of the more internet famous people who have ever been on the show. He's listed as like one of the celebrities that have been on the show, I suppose. I like Kenny. I went back and watched a Crystal Cox retrospective today, and it was dynamite. Crystal Cox is hilarious because she's this Olympic athlete who comes in, and she's talking all this shit about how great she is, and she just gets annihilated in every challenge. Terrible. She's so uncoordinated. She's just completely functionless out there. And it's just so funny. And I think her ultimate moment is when she goes to vote Randy out. And it's like, you have made my life hell from day one. Forget you. Go home. Goodbye. And everyone can hear her. We're out in the tribal council area. And even Randy's like, that's so funny. So I like that a lot. They use Exile Island a lot on this, which I always find a little gimmicky. It's okay, but Sugar's in the Sugar Shack or whatever. Oh, the fucking Sugar Shack. Yeah. I don't know. I think fake idols are kind of cool, and I like Bob really came up with like the concept of the fake. I think that's a fun part of gameplay. All this other idol stuff, yeah, it's fine. Immunity idols in general, I'm okay with if they're not overused, and I like when people are crafty and make fake idols.
Was this the first fake idol?
It's the first one I remember. I can't say that it is for sure.
Yeah.
I can't say that. I mean, I guess there's Micronesia, where I think Ozzy might have come up with something. Right, and there was the stick, right?
It wasn't the first. This was the first decent try at it.
This is the first one that looked good.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for Randy when he goes to play it though.
Yeah.
You pan to the other survivors, and everyone's cracking up. Corinne's cracking up. Kenny's like, "Oh my god, he's gonna do it! Like he's really gonna do it." And I think Randy's really hurt by it. Like, there's no point in it happening. It's not a game move. Randy's getting voted out anyway. It makes zero. It has zero strategic effect whatsoever, but I still.
Randy might have had it coming.
Yeah, probably. So this is one I really do want to rewatch because I remember a lot of the characters, and I think there's a lot of good stuff that happens. And I think the gameplay isn't quite a standard pagonging. I think there's a lot of interesting gameplay.
There's a lot of things where it moves. It's just I just don't know if it ends with a satisfactory enough.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. I mean, this is why it's not in the top 20. It's outside for me. So good. Anything else that you want to say about Gabon?
No, it's one I would again, like you, I would watch it again.
Great. Yeah. Okay, good. I don't think it's at the top of my list to watch again, but I would definitely do it. Those early, and I think that counts as old school.
Yeah, I would say so.
I think we're still in the old school realm where you don't have all the crazy, ridiculous twists.
There's not 9 idols. There's not nullifiers.
Yeah. I think at the time this came out, it was probably the least popular season of the show to that point, but I think it's grown in my estimation. Okay, so that was my number 23 season. What's your number 23?
Okay, well, we'll talk about this one, and because I'm surprised you had it where you did, but it's number 4, Marquesas.
Okay, Marquesas. Yeah, and I'll give you the reason why for Marquesas. So Survivor 4, Marquesas, obviously, as I just stated, it's the 4th season of the show. I'm trying to remember where I had this thing. It's way up there. It's 29. Okay, that's not that bad. 29. Here's the reason. So, there's no gimmick for this show. It's the 4th season, so it's still really old school Survivor. I'm trying to think of anything interesting that happened here other than maybe a tribe swap. I don't remember a ton from this. I remember a lot of the cast pretty well, but I really don't remember a ton from this season, and I couldn't promise you that I've seen the entire thing. I went hard into season 2. I was really into season 3, but season 3, I kind of got the premise of like things like the pagonging that sort of happened on season 3, Africa.
Right. And
then I started off Marquesas, and I think I went away on vacation somewhere, and I just don't think I ever sort of fully followed up on it. I know that this is the birthplace of Boston Rob. It's the first time we see Boston Rob. So that's a very memorable character. Kathy Vavrick O'Brien, KVO, who came back for All Stars. I like Kathy. I thought she was entertaining enough and a decent player. I have good feelings about it. I just don't really remember it. And honestly, if you would, when Rob gets cast on All Stars, I don't have strong feelings about him one way or the other because I barely remember what he did.
Didn't make the jury.
No, he didn't make the jury, and so he obviously production loved him enough to bring him back. And I don't know, did he pop that much? I can't remember. So
I think he did pop that much.
Okay, so
I think he was a real fun character. Him and I forget, he had a friend on the show that they kind of were just kind of goofs.
Sean Rector.
Sean Rector's great. Who should have played again.
I've got it written down right here. Sean Rector should have returned, period.
Oh, nice. Yeah, no, absolutely he should have. And they get into this alliance where they just kind of like, they're the lazy oafs on their tribe, and somehow they turn it around on Hunter Ellis and vote him out. And I really like the slacker underdog story.
Yeah. No, it's great to see Hunter getting voted out because you had all these really handsome, kind of like really built, sporty guys who are like kind of the Mr. America type dudes that traditionally would not have been gunned for at this spot. And Hunter goes out early. Yeah. And, that was cool. So that was really interesting. Yeah.
Right. And also later on, like when you say this is the first season that had a tribal alliance that got broken up. Like the dominant alliance could have run. Like it was like John Carroll, Zoe, Tammy, Robert. They were this solid 4. And then
Robert, you mean the Sarge?
But yeah.
Was that his name?
Sarge was Vanuatu.
Oh, he's the general. This is
right. The general. Yes.
I think Boston Rob's like, Anyone who calls himself the general only does that because he probably got a tiny wiener.
So Rob has a lot of great commentary that probably wouldn't go over well today.
No, there's some definite slandering of John Carroll, one of the prominent first.
There's also some slandering of Zoe. Zoe.
Did he say
he's the toughest guy out here, or something along those. Yeah. Right. He's really funny in this, and I can see why they brought him back.
Okay.
But they probably would put that on TV today. So it has that that alliance is broken up because there's a reward challenge where the pecking order is exposed, and I really that's what I miss about the award challenges these days is they don't have reward challenges. They don't have that.
Love that.
I loved it. I think it was a great way to see kind of where you stood and whether if you would try to obfuscate the pecking order if you were in the dominant alliance. And I kind of miss those little moments. And
absolutely.
This season really kind of delivers on, I wouldn't say next level gameplay, but at least something that's not a complete gonging.
Yeah, that's true. I don't think it redefined gameplay or anything like that, but you're right. There are some alliances that are broken. We hadn't seen that very much up until this point. You'd settle in on some kind of an alliance, and then you'd just sit on that for the entire game, as we saw a ton in seasons 1, 2, and 3. And this did mix that up. That said, I just don't remember. I mean, it's outside of the 30s for me. It's in the 20s. What do you think about the final, though? What do you think about the winner and, the final 3, the final 4?
So the final 3, I guess after the final 3, a lot of people think Kathy would have been a more deserving winner. Sepia is a fine winner, I guess, but she just seemed to never be on anyone's radar. It was just, after the wars of attrition, it was just her standing there with Nele, and she ends up winning. So it's not, I don't think she's a great winner. She's not the worst.
And also didn't get called. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you finish. You go ahead.
No, she didn't get called for winners at war. Do you think she should have?
Probably I'd like to see her bet more than Danny Boatwright, but that's after I've seen the season, right? I was kind of excited to see Danny Boatwright back, but now I'm like, I should have given that spot to Sepia.
Oh man, I swore I wouldn't get into any kind of controversy, but do you think that given today's political climate, if the show was casting winners at war right now, do you think Sepia gets on the show?
100%, and she should have 100%. been. She should have been regardless in place of Amber. You can't have a married couple come back on a show for $2 million.
I guarantee you that was a condition of Rob's for coming back. There's
absolutely
right. Sure, it makes no sense for Amber to come back on the show, and to have a married couple out there is ridiculous. Maybe they thought they'd see what it was like, but it's a stupid experiment.
Yeah.
It's a stupid. It's not like I didn't want to see Amber back necessarily, but if you go back and watch either one of Amber's games, there's not much going on there.
No,
there's not much nuance to the game. I mean, I think she probably has the most, screen time and strategy talk in All Stars, and it's not amazing.
No, it's not. And she really is riding Rob's coattails in that one.
I hate to take anything away from the great Amber Burkich-Mariano, but I much rather would have seen Sepia out there. I love seeing Ethan back for that show. And some more of the old schoolers would have been terrific. I don't know if you need to swap out one of the old schoolers for another old schooler. We can go through who we thought should have been on. I don't think there's any point in, digging through winners at war. There's a couple of misfires, and there's, a couple of people that they should have had on. Obviously, Hatch probably should have been on. Although in today's political climate, there's even less chance that Richard Hatch gets on.
No, absolutely.
But I do think if they're...
Go
ahead. No.
I was going to say that we should mention the controversy about the season, which is the Purple Rock elimination of Pichelle, too.
I have that written down. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's the first iteration of the Purple Rock, or basically the rock draw, which for those of you who haven't seen this before, if you're tied at a certain vote, and this was at Final Four, I want to say?
Final Four,
if you're tied 2-2, first of all, there's no more Final Four anything now. You have a friggin' fire-making challenge. And then I think subsequent to that, if you're tied 2-2 at Final Four or whenever, you'd have a fire-making challenge. But this was the tie break where you basically just drew a rock. The two people who, got the votes the two people who got the votes, they would draw the rock. Is that right?
No, this one, it was the only person who didn't draw the rock was the person who had the immunity necklace, which I believe was Sepia at the time. So Nele, Kathy, and Pichelle had to draw.
There's no way Kathy drew a rock. I thought it was just between Nalia and Pascal.
No, I think that 3 people drew raw because I'm not
I haven't seen
100%
the
sure.
show. What do I know?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, controversial somewhat. I don't really give a shit. I mean,
Yeah.
I think there's probably got to be. Survivor's not really a meritocracy. It would be a little bit better if they had come up with some Survivor-related way that they could have solved this. You know, it was. I see why it's there. It's to prevent people from tying. It's to
Yeah. I'm not
try to
rocking
avoid
a
this from happening.
Pichelle was robbed shirt. I don't really care that much,
Yeah, no, yeah, me neither. I think it was kind of a quiet final two, honestly. Yeah, you know, those people probably, honestly, either one of them, Nalia or Visepia, probably has a lot more to say now because they've grown a lot. And I've heard interviews with Visepia, you know, within the last couple of years, and yeah, would have been great to see her back and see how she
Yeah.
performed. But what are you gonna do? Any other takes that you got on? I just don't have much else to say about Marquesas. That's one I definitely would like to rewatch. I'm just worried I would be a little bit bored.
That's as early as I can go back. I can't go back to well, we'll talk about that later, but that's the earliest I can go back and watch.
Okay.
Number 4.
Yeah, the first 3 seasons I wouldn't go back and watch either. That's interesting. All right, so that was your number 23. I'm now going to get into my number 22.
Mm-hmm.
Scrolling up here, my number 22 is Survivor San Juan del Sur, which I think is season 27. It's somewhere.
I thought it was 29, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's 29. It's 29.
Okay.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Okay. So that's San Juan del Sur for me. It's coming in at number 22.
Okay. 22, I've got number 37, David versus Goliath.
Ooh, DVG. Okay, I guess we're talking about this one, aren't we?
We're talking about David versus Goliath, yeah.
Okay, so I had David versus Goliath up at 27. It's not like we're that far apart on this one. So let's get into it. You start off talking about David versus Goliath while I do some scrolling.
Okay, this is a fun cast. There's a lot of people you could get behind with at one time or the other. They're very good-natured, and I'd almost say to its detriment, it's almost a little too good-natured. I would like.
You're gonna have to tell me who this cast is that you like.
Okay, so I think Davey has his moments.
Definitely. Tick.
I think Christian has his moments.
Of course, sure. That's 2. That's what I got too.
I think even Gabby has a couple moments in there. Is she the most magnetic personality? No. But she's...
See, I have Gabby as a question mark, and that's it.
Okay.
I got 3 people who I thought were... So you go on and you tell me...
Okay, I'll tell you a few other things I thought were kind of notable. I think Mike White had a dry kind of like...
okay, sure.
Right?
Yeah.
The narrator to the show, kind of looking at all the... I thought Mike White was okay.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree. Mike White's
I think if I'm casting heroes versus villains too, I've got 2 people that are making my cut, and the first one is John Hennigan, if he'll play again, for the heroes.
I don't know. Did he make that much of an impact?
I just think heroes are so lame anyway. This guy fits, like, he'll take the James spot in heroes versus villains too, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Your heroes they're hard to take. And for the villain, this is a person I forgot about after the season ended, but I remember watching him like, this person should play again in the villain, and that would be Angelina.
Yeah, okay. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
She just seemed like such a kind of a comically... She just got the dodo edit in so many ways, and it's hard for me to take somebody like that in any way seriously, and I have no idea. I really don't feel like if you bring back Angelina again, you're getting anything different from Angelina. I don't think her gameplay is particularly savvy. She says funny things. Natalie, can I have your jacket? Natalie, can I have your jacket? Natalie? 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 She does something with a ladder from what I remember. Okay.
Okay. Here's the thing. Heroes versus villains 2. You got 5 female spots to fill out, right? On the villains tribe.
Yeah. Okay.
Who are you going to put in there if you can't recast Heroes versus Villains 1?
I would put Natalie from this show above Angelina. Honestly, I think she was far more of a villain and far more of like a striking contrast to other characters that had ever been on the show.
Okay. Yeah.
Either or, whatever. I mean, they're very different characters, but I think I would be more inclined to put Natalie on. But Natalie's a terrible player and would never. She's, bottom 3 vote out. She's never making it far in the game.
Sure.
She probably served her purpose, honestly.
Right.
So, yeah.
I think the cast is likable. I think that it goes in an unpredictable way. I think there's a lot of like blind sides. I think there's a lot of people who try to take control of the game and then immediately get axed. It happens to Gabby. I think it happens to Christian.
Right.
It happens to Davey.
Yep.
It's almost like a war of attrition. And then all you've got there is our winner holding, oh my God, Nick Wilson's the winner. How did this happen?
I remember I felt like I knew 3 episodes in that Nick Wilson was going to win. And so there was some suspense missing there. I do like the cast a lot, and I did think this was fun. And of hokey premises, at least you can kind of parse people out in some ways to, the Davids versus the Goliaths. If you really dig down into it, like there's probably a lot of people that belonged in the other camp or don't belong in either one of these camps.
Yeah.
I think Christian's an all-time character.
Christian's great.
Christian's amazing. He's so funny. He can talk forever, and he's really articulate, and he knows the game so well. He's the kind of guy, he practiced these puzzles before he went. He did a slide puzzle in 7 seconds.
Yeah.
I think both men and female and women really, Christian really resonated with them, because I know a lot of women who like the show who really like Christian a lot, and not in like a Michael Yerger type of a way, but in like, I admire this guy for his intelligence.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think most of what you've said here, I've sort of kind of mimicked that, or I've echoed that in what I've written down as well. I mean, likable people in general, but just to me, they're just not as many memorable people as prior casts. And I think what made this season was where Davey, Christian, Angelina to an extent. Yeah, I like Mike White. That's interesting to even write Mike White down. I did. Yeah, I thought the final 6 was kind of underwhelming because I think Davey goes at 6, or maybe he goes at 5, and he was the one playing. Yeah, and then Nick Wilson, Angelina, Mike White, Kara Kay. Like, who cares?
I think Nick Wilson's a little bit underrated. Nick Wilson played the game the entire time. He started with his naming of his alliances.
I like the alliance naming. I think it's great.
I think it's right.
Funny stuff.
And he was, he used a lot of, I think, advantage. What some of those advantages in his favor.
Yep.
I think he was playing the whole time, and I really think I wouldn't say he's a bottom tier winner. I would say he's an upper middle tier winner.
Okay. Really?
Yeah.
I guess I have to watch this again. I just don't see it happening.
Okay.
I don't know. I look. I put it mid-20s.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. I had good feelings about it. I think I was into it at the time that it was happening. Right. But it's hard. These 30s. I'm tailing off towards the end of the 30s.
The funny, this is what I was saying earlier about when we were offline. These ones in the 30s, you watch them, you really invest them at the time, and then you just forget about everything that happened afterwards. And like even the players you pegged for, I'd like to see this person play again. You forget. I forgot about Angelina completely.
Yeah, I mean, is this like Star Wars though? When we really loved the first Star Wars. Man, Star Wars is so good, and then now Star Wars. I don't know. Maybe Star Wars is as good. But I don't remember anything about Star Wars.
No, it's objectively not as good. And these objectively are meant. This is more. It's a hyper-produced show. It's not meant to have any lasting impression anymore. You don't spend a lot of time with the characters. It's supposed to be just a lot of I would say action beats. It's like, oh, this person they play an idol and they get voted out, and it doesn't have kind of the slow build that the old seasons had.
Yeah, and I don't know if it ever will again. I'm not for we need back to basics. I watched a Russell Hantz conversation with Troyzan today. Why did I do that? Why? I don't know. I mean, Russell Hantz tends to interview. He says stuff that nobody else will really say. Like, he'll dig deeper than Rob will because he'll get into this behind-the-scenes stuff. Right. And I always kind of like Troy's interviews. And I can't remember why I even brought this up. Oh, they were talking about, let's do a back to basics. We got to do a back to basics. And Troy's like, yeah, I think we're really good if we want the back to basics season. Yeah. I think that people would tune out. I still think you'll never get rid of immunity idols. You've got to have that going on. But some of this stuff where they're trying to really foster idol nullifier is introduced in this season, is it not?
Yes,
Carl. Carl plays. Why do I remember this? Carl
plays it on Dan.
Yeah, Dan Rangering. Bing.
Yeah.
That was Carl's thing that he did.
I forgot all about Carl, and I forgot all about Dan until I looked it up today.
Carl Boudreaux. Yeah, Dan Rangering, not a great. And then there was like the Alec controversy where he was like dating Kara Kay.
Right.
didn't get to go to the reunion or something stupid like that.
Because
yeah,
he
I like
some
this.
of his Oh, there's another great moment when Alec, where you would actually with Alec, who doesn't have any other real moments in the show, but he is crushing an immunity challenge or a reward challenge, and you can actually see Jeff Probst go from 6 to midnight. Like it is it is something to behold.
Oh man, we should cast a season of Jeff Probst's favorites. It'd be all hunky dudes.
Absolutely.
Colby, Andrew Savage,
Alec.
Alec.
I don't know what this cat's deal is with these hunky guys, but
yeah, I mean, even he admitted it on the show recently. He was like, "Yeah, I think I've been a little bit sexist, a little bit."
Wow, I think so.
You're really just waking up to this. That's surprising. Okay, so that's look. I got nothing else to say about David versus Goliath.
Yeah.
What about you?
No, it's a fun season.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think it was a fun season, so I'm going to pen it in here. How many have we talked about now? I'm going to try and figure out how many we've done on this iteration.
I think maybe 6.
5, 6. We've done 7. So how long have we been talking for?
Oh, since you put it on, probably about an hour and 25 minutes or something.
Yikes. Yeah. I mean, we're not really getting through these very fast. Let's do at least one more.
Let's do one more.
Okay, we'll do one more. So the next thing that I have up here, we just did my number 22, and your 22, which is DVG. I'm going to number 21 now. And number 21 for me, and I think this will surprise you also. Actually, I'm surprised. Has it come? Oh, okay. It has. So number 21 for me, you put this at 29. This is Game Changers. Survivor Game Changers.
Okay, I am surprised you put Game Changers that high.
Well, I'm going to explain why I put Game Changers so high. So here we have Survivor Game Changers, which is a full returnee cast season. And I'm just a sucker for returnee cast seasons. You're going to have some duds. You're going to have some good ones. But to me, I get so excited about seeing the good ones and seeing people come back that I get really into the season. And I do think that Sarah was actually really good. I think she did a really good job of a win. I don't think it pops necessarily, but I think she did what she needed to do. And I think she made interesting moves. And I liked it. I liked the outcome. I liked 65% of the cast.
Yeah.
If that's a percentage you can apply to 20 people. I'm not, yeah, that's 13 out of 20 probably. I was thumbs up.
I probably like 11. I'm a little bit lower percentage-wise on you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a real sucker for returning cast seasons. So here's why Game Changers is up here. So I like this a lot more than I think a lot of people did. You hear people bitch about this all the time. I heard Russell Hanson, Troyzan bitching about it today, and Troyzan was on the season.
Yeah.
So I find that surprising. I get pumped up. I was baffled by a lot of the returnees. Who did I want to see? I was excited to see Malcolm back. Look, I'm not a Joe Anglim fanboy, but I think Malcolm's an entirely different player. He gets lumped into the category with these Aussies of the world, and Malcolm has a great personality, and he's not the best strategist on the game, but I don't know. He's a relatable guy. There's not that many people who on Survivor. I'm like, okay, I'd like to hang out with all of them, but like, I think Malcolm would be fun to hang out with, butt around with,
he's got a cynical edge to him that Joe doesn't have. It's like if Joe is Malcolm, if you took away all the personality.
Yeah, and Joe's way better at challenges. Malcolm's just not that great.
Yeah, Malcolm's not that great, yeah.
So I don't know. JT, we hadn't seen JT in so long, so I was kind of interested to see, like, well, how did JT turn him? He is someone who's just plummeted in terms of gameplay.
Yeah.
I still like seeing him on the screen. It was funny, the stuff that he was doing. He was mixing it up with people and saying stupid things. Probably a little bit racist, but
he's never boring.
No, that's the thing. He's not boring. He wasn't boring his first season. He was fun to have on Heroes versus Villains, and he's fun in this one as well. So we hadn't seen Sandra in forever, so I was pumped to see Sandra. What was Sandra going to do? Not much. Who else? I think maybe I was interested. Obviously, I was excited to see Tony again. Flamed out quick. I was kind of interested in seeing Debbie again, shockingly enough, and that was a huge mistake. I am so over Debbie. Sari came back.
Yeah,
I didn't think we'd see Sari again, so I was stoked for that. I was actually into Michaela at the time. I thought
Michaela
was really interesting. Again. She was just on the season before this, which was Millennials versus Gen X. So I was like, yeah, that's a good call to bring her back. In retrospect, probably should have left her for a bit.
Yeah.
Probably.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Sierra Easton is kind of a dud. Caleb is one of the worst returnees of all time, along with Sierra Dawn Thomas. You're right. Haley doesn't make any sense to bring back.
No sense.
Troyzan is a real bubble player, but I think they felt bad for the Second Chances bit. Brad Culpepper, still a real dud to me. I guess he's okay. He's a real dud.
He's okay. You know what? He did a lot. He was a lot better than I think. I was not excited to see Culpepper back. And he's a lot better in this season than he was in his last. He's way less misogynistic.
What do you think about Zeke?
I don't want to touch this one, to be honest with you. Regardless of anything, I just don't.
What do you think about Zeke's encounter? I just like as a player.
I don't think he's very good as a player.
Yeah, he's not the greatest player, is he? He's a likable guy. He's very likable.
He seems
he
very
really
likable.
got oversold by Jeff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jeff Probst.
Oh, yeah, see, that was the incident I was going to mention. I was without getting. It's hard for me to have an unbiased opinion towards Zeke, and part of it is because I was a real big fan of Jeff Varner. But this was all on Jeff Varner. Jeff Varner did fuck up and just say something completely awful. But I'm just it was someone I was looking so forward to see play for the third time because he has never made the jury, and then you'll never see Jeff Varner in Survivor circles again, and that's on Jeff Varner, and not Zeke. So
you gotta wonder what goes through someone's mind when they make such a desperation move like that. It's sad. I mean, I can see he's probably just so he's a controversial kind of guy to begin with. If you watch his first season, he popped on screen, he was really entertaining and interesting. And back then you had millions of people applying to get on the show. And so the fact that they picked this guy, he's entertaining and he always gave great interviews. And he was super fun on Second Chances. I don't know what happened. I think he's just so devastated probably that he knew he wasn't making the jury again. And something just snapped in the guy. So there's only so much I can say about this. It's maybe the second ugliest incident in the history of Survivor.
This is one of the big reasons it dropped so low, and the other incident being Sari leaving with no votes against in Idlegate.
Yeah, I don't even think I wrote that down. I don't even think I wrote down Idlegeddon or whatever they call it. Yeah. So that I'm a sucker. I want to go back and watch it because I do think there are a lot of things that are entertaining and enjoyable about this. And I do think that Sarah plays a very good game, but I need to go back and watch it again. I really am a sucker for these things. Tai Trang,
If you told me who the final 8 is, I would be so disappointed at going into the season. If you said, "Oh yeah, it's going to be Sierra Dawn Thomas, it's going to be Sarah, it's going to be," although she's a great winner, but at the time I wasn't excited about seeing Sarah back. So
here's the reason why. I mean, if you're going to cast an all-star season, you got to knock it out of the park. Otherwise, this is what's going to happen. You're going to get the lower profile people. All-Stars prime example. This is obviously a prime example. When you have a returning season where everyone is a hit player, heroes versus villains, you're getting a great season.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, 1 or 2, but whatever. I mean, 90% of the people on that show are dynamite. And you're really into it. Even Second Chances. I thought Second Chances was pretty fun because the fans had some kind of a say in it. Now, not everyone there is perfect, but I still think Second Chances is a much more fun season.
It's a better season for sure.
It's a better season than this season. So, yeah, I mean, most of what I had here was the cast, and then we have those incidents where you have Advantage Gate or whatever, and there's not that much else to say about it, but the reason that I put it so high is because I was very excited about it and very excited to watch it, and I know that, I don't know, it's probably a little high, honestly, when I think about it now, when I have it here. It's probably a little high, but whatever.
I think you have it a little bit high, but
okay.
There's also the Cochrane on the boat. Fuck you, Cochrane. What does he give a pep talk to Debbie as a reward challenge? Fuck off.
So the best thing that Randy does, that I've seen Randy do, is Randy made this tweet where he cobbles together some video where it's we have a bit of a lead up. There's a boat, and then we have Debbie looking over who is it? You see Cochrane, and she's like, Cochrane? And then you have he cuts in this is video of a submarine firing a torpedo, and the torpedo blows up the boat that Cochrane's on.
That sounds like a Randy thing to do for sure.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's so
That's
funny.
Great.
Yeah, so I forgot Cochrane made an appearance on this. We can talk about Cochrane later, but
this is where any gimmicky thing you throw in like this is it's the worst. Oh yeah, Cochrane's gonna be a pep talk and tell me how to navigate this game. Come on.
Yeah, he really helped Debbie a lot.
Right.
It really improved her game. I think that's all I got for Game Changers.
Yeah.
Maybe I got it a bit high, but I still think it's worth a rewatch. Yeah. The last thing I'll say is some of the sheen starts to come off Aubrey in this season.
Oh, I even forgot about Aubrey. Absolutely.
Yeah. There's a lot of forgettable. Yeah.
There's no sheen left on Aubrey whatsoever.
No, agreed. Okay, so that's Game Changers. That was my 21. Give me your 21.
My 21 is Winners at War, the last season.
You better be ready.
It lost 2 spots because of that song alone.
They're coming for you. Okay, how long are we into this production here?
So we're an hour and a half, about an hour 40 minutes, probably the same as last time.
We got to cut it. We can't do it.
Okay.
How does it? I don't know how these things go so long.
That's good that we left it right at 21, so now we get into our top 20s the next
top
time.
20s. Oh, that's good. Okay, yeah, I'm pretty content with that. How many did we get through? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not that many. 8. Okay, doesn't matter.
Okay. Doesn't matter. We'll try to get this done in 2 installments. We'll go from 20 to 11 next time, and then we'll.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Well, another excellent conversation. I suppose we will reconvene for part 3 of how many parts? Question mark parts. Let's hope it's only 4 parts.
Oh, this is a 4-parter. We're not getting it done any quicker.
I think most people could do this in an hour. I don't know what we're doing here, but hey, it's fun to talk about. I'm really enjoying it.
Me too. I don't feel like we're talking about these seasons too in depth. We're just giving you basically the highlights why you should or shouldn't watch it. But it takes time to get through these things. So if this is the time it takes, this is the time it takes.
I'm with you on that one.
Put it on in your background when you're ironing your clothes or doing whatever the fuck it is you people do.
That's right, guys. And look, if you're still watching, put a message in the comments. And what are we gonna send them? I'll send you a postcard.
Sweet.
You put a message in the comments that you've gotten to the end of this program. I will send you a postcard. You can message me. I'll send you a postcard.
Do you even have the comments enabled?
I'm gonna enable the comments. Hey, man, we got 5 likes on part 1.
I was one of them.
5. What? Yeah, I was one too. So we got 3 likes. You know who was another one? Greg McKinnon. We got 2 likes.
You know who's another one? Mandy.
What? Did she give it a like? Oh,
I have no idea. I'm guessing. We're down to 1 like. I'd love to find out the one person we don't know who liked us.
Who is the one? I wish there was some way that I could figure out who that was, but I don't think that that's publicly available knowledge. So fine, I'll enable the comments. If you get to this, I will send you a postcard.
We're looking to get up to 7 likes.
What's that?
Don't forget to like us.
Don't forget to like us on social medias. We'll send you a pizza roll. Subscribe. I don't know how to do the subscribe thing. I'll figure that out by the time we talk again, or maybe not. Who's to say? Okay, well, that was a great one, Paul. Thanks for. Oh my God, I didn't record. No, I'm just kidding.
I kind of thought you were doing that. I thought you would say that earlier if you were going to set that
really?
up. So you kind of telegraphed it. I wasn't concerned. If you go back and watch this, you're like, I don't look concerned.
I had no plan for it, but then I looked down and I was concerned for a second there. But no, we did record, so I'll post this sucker as soon as I can, and then I'll see you for part 3 of the Sykes Brothers rank all 40 seasons of Survivor.
Nice. Don't miss it.
Until then, no, you won't miss it. Until then, got nothing else for ya.